If you ever catch yourself saying, oh, I'm just bad with money, or money's not really my thing, it's not really something I'm good at, or if you hear anyone else say that, please promise me that you are going to pull them up in a gentle, kind way. Pull them up on it, because your financial health is just as important as your mental health, as your physical health. It is something that you need to function in life. From kids, we're told that like sticks and stones will break my bones and words will never hurt me. So we are kind of taught from a really young age that our words don't really matter, and that the main thing is that we don't hurt ourselves physically, we look after ourselves, we don't hurt other people physically, and we're kind of taught that our words just roll off. They just roll off. They don't matter. But science has showed that it's quite the opposite. The way that we speak to ourselves very heavily influences our core belief and our actions. You're listening to the Majella Says podcast, where life is about money. It's just not only about money. I'm Majella, your host, and in all honesty, I am no money expert. I've had my fair share of failure. In fact, this last year, we came as close as you possibly could to being broke. We're now in the process of rebuilding our lives from scratch, choosing hard now so that we don't have to live a hard life forever. My whole world revolves around trying to create a better life for our family, where we can be outrageously generous with our resources and our time. We're breaking down the money taboo because, let's face it, money touches everything. We can pretend like it's not important, but if we don't learn to control money, it will control us. Hello. Okay, we're here. Episode 4. Can you believe it? I wasn't lying in my intro or trailer. I can't remember which one I said it in, but like my toxic trait is turning everything I love into a business. And I've been really into podcasts lately, and now look at me here doing a podcast. It is my actual toxic trait, you guys, but I'm on episode 4, which means I've stuck to it, which is big. It's big for me. Part of the reason I think I was able to stick with it is I had this crazy opportunity to be recording in this studio. When I was planning this podcast, I was writing out all of the things that would give me resistance, like why I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm trying to record. I think my camera is slightly crooked. I'm not going to get up and change it. You're just going to have a slightly crooked video if you're watching. Oh well. What was I saying? You guys, this is strap in for a chaotic episode. I mean, it's feeling like every episode's going to be a bit chaotic, but at least I'm not driving, because I tell you what, I send podcast episodes, that's what we call them, voice notes, but potty apps, to my friends, and it's pretty chaotic when I'm driving. I've got to tell you. So be thankful I'm not in the car right now. Obviously, it's all very safe. I do the little slide up thing. I don't have to touch my phone. And then that means they have to listen to me for the duration of the drive, which is like 10 minutes or something. Oh, thank you, lucky stars, you're not friends with me, honestly. Although, can we be friends? Let's be friends. Send me a voice note. And I'll put it on the podcast. That'll be so fun. We can have little voice note exchanges, like pen pals, but voice notes. And the rest of the world can tune in. Fun. Let's do that. Send me a voice note. Yeah, so I was writing out all of the things that might give me resistance to this podcast and trying to record at home with a 1.5-year-old, 16 months old as of today. Happy birthday, Henry. Is pretty much impossible. I'd have to do it at night time and have to set up, and that's not going to happen. It's just not. Especially not when we live with my family, so there's lots of people around all the time. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to have a quiet household. Anyway, this was something I was like, is this going to be realistic? So I open my laptop and do a little Google. I don't know if you can hear that. Do a little Google. Podcast studios in my area. The first one that comes up, Bella Vista Hotel. Shout out. Now you guys know my general area of where I live. Don't stalk me. Bella Vista Hotel comes up fully free, you guys. Free, and not just free, free. Not just free, available. I can book it. I could book it tomorrow. I could book it all day tomorrow if I wanted. People have not found this yet. And let's hope they don't. If you live in Bella Vista and you want to start a podcast, back off. This is mine. It's mine. I'm going to book it out in advance. The next, all weekends. I'll be in here all day, every day. What are we here to discuss today? We're here to discuss a very common phrase that I hear thrown around like it means nothing. And it makes me really sad. I was chatting with a friend today via voice note, via Potty Apps. Love it. And she was telling me about how one of her friends thinks she's not very good with money. And she always says like, oh, I'm not very good with money. And I can't tell you how sad it makes me when I hear someone say this. I can empathize in a way. Like there were parts of me that was like, I really want to be good at this, but I'm just not that great. Like I can't get my savings up. What are people doing? You know, I had all these big goals and I didn't meet them. I just mustn't be very good with money. And I really had this like scarcity mindset around money where it felt limiting, and every financial decision I made, I was a bit embarrassed by. Like if I bought something, I wouldn't tell anyone how much it costs. I wouldn't tell them that I bought it. I would be really embarrassed. Or, you know, if I had to tell someone how much my rent was back when I moved out of home, like it was pretty expensive and I was a bit embarrassed by that. God forbid someone asked me how much savings was in my bank account. Like I've panicked when I met Connor and I was telling him about how I had met one of my savings goals. And then when I moved out of home for the first time, I had to dip into my savings and I was feeling pretty terrible about it. And he was like, oh, okay. So empathetic. Connor's the best. So empathetic. And he was like, oh, well, you know, how much do you have now? And I was like, don't ask me that. How could you ask me that? Don't ask me that. And I was so embarrassed and I didn't want to talk about it. And, you know, that feeling of guilt and shame. And you guys, I was like 22 and I had $10,000 saved. I moved out of home and I had to use $2,000 of it. So I had $8,000 saved. I don't think that's pretty bad for a uni student who had been at uni for however long, 4 years or something. I was harsh on myself, and I have a lot of empathy for anyone who thinks that they're bad at money. There's so many things to unpack here. Like, firstly, what makes you bad at money? Is it something you can be bad at? Is it that you're bad at money, or is it that you just don't know what to do with your money? Because if you didn't know something about the world, I'm trying to think of an example. If you didn't know, my video has cut out. This would happen to me. Why is my storage even full? Like yesterday I could record a 45-minute video and today it would only record 8 minutes. Like obviously I deleted the 45-minute video, so it should be clear. I'm so confused, you guys. Anyway, this is the resistance I'm talking about. This is the resistance that I really wanted to prevent. If you didn't know how to make fancy Italian food, you wouldn't say, I'm bad at cooking. You would just say, I don't know how to make fancy Italian food. I don't know how to do that. And furthermore, I would encourage you to say, I don't know how to do that yet. I haven't tried that yet. I don't know how to do it. I'm a beginner. Who's good at anything when they first start, when they haven't researched it, when they haven't learnt about it? We didn't learn about this at school. A lot of people, their parents didn't talk about it because, hello, they're from the generation where talking about money is taboo, even with family. So if you feel like you don't have the skills, or if you have a friend who feels like they don't have the skills to manage their money or to know what to do about money, like that's not their fault. That's not your fault. You just don't know yet. And you're not bad for that. I'm so conscious of these, and I don't know if it's just because now I'm a mum or what, but I'm so conscious of the morality that is attached to these words of good and bad. You're good with money, I'm bad with money. That's, to me, it's not something to be bad at. You're not a bad person. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't hurt anyone or yourself, or you're not bad. Like the word bad, think about it. Just sit with the word bad for a minute. Throw yourself back to your childhood when you were told you were bad or you were being bad. Think about the feelings of guilt and shame that wash over you when you hear that word. You're not bad with money. You just don't know how to do it yet. You just haven't learnt about it yet. You're not bad with money. Let's come back to that question. What even is bad with money? When you're thinking about this, when you're thinking, I'm bad with money, what even is that? You haven't gotten a certain amount saved. You haven't invested. You haven't bought property. You see money coming out of your bank account more than you feel like it comes in. You spend a lot, you eat out a lot, you buy a lot of clothes. I would actually challenge you to think about each of those individual things and realize that it's not bad that you're not doing any of those things. It's not bad. You're just not doing it. And that's okay. That indicates two things. Like, it could be one of the two or both. It indicates to me that your value system is maybe misaligned. So if you're feeling bad that you're not doing one of these things, investing, saving, or you're spending a lot of money, if you're feeling not great about it, it means that your value system is not aligned with your actions. You're not in tune with your value system. It means that you are acting in a way that is in misalignment with your values. So you're spending more money on things that you don't want to be really spending money on. Because if you were spending money on things that you loved, that made you happy, and that you saw value in, you wouldn't be feeling bad about it. You'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, I freaking love buying clothes. I love this. It makes me feel great about myself. Right? You'd feel happy because it is a fun thing to do, and it gives you the hormones and it makes you happy. But if you're feeling bad about it, that is an indication that you're doing it to an extent that is misaligned with your values, because your underlying value is maybe that you would like to have a little bit more savings to feel a bit more secure. Or maybe you're really keen to build some wealth and, lasting wealth that's going to carry you through to, senior, I was going to say adulthood. We are adults. Spoiler alert, we are adults. Or, allows you to have time with your family. If that's the case, if that's your value, then maybe you just need to reassess your budget a little bit. Make time for buying clothes and saving. What I'm saying is, if you're feeling bad about your actions, it is often a misalignment of values. I think the second thing that it indicates is that you have a lack of knowledge. Again, think about when in your childhood, when you've had a lack of knowledge and you felt like that was bad, like that was a bad thing. The last time you would have felt this was probably at school or at college or uni. College. Who am I talking to? College. Uni. This is when you're getting graded on what you know. And there's morality there. Good and bad. Good marks, bad marks. Let's try and remove that morality from this equation. It's not bad that you don't know something. It's not bad. You just don't know yet. Let's go back to sitting in those feelings of, I don't know. I don't know what to do with my money when it comes in. I don't know how much is coming in. I don't know where it goes by the end of the month. I'm in my late 20s or my 30s and I haven't invested in property yet. Slap on the wrist. You haven't invested in property yet if you're in your late 20s or your 30s. Like, how dare you? How dare you exist? That's what it feels like though, right? You feel behind and you feel like you're a terrible human being because you haven't managed to do these things. But you don't know. You haven't been given guidance. It's not something that we learn. If you haven't stumbled into the world of finance and investing, it does not make you a bad person. But when you are starting to feel yourself say, I'm bad with money, or if you hear a friend say, I'm bad with money, they are, and this is in the kindest way possible and without judgment, but what I think is happening is it is a feeling of discomfort. I don't know how to manage my money. That makes me feel uncomfortable, makes me feel worried and stressed. to cope with that feeling, I then say, I'm not good with money. It's not my personality. It's not me. Can you see how that removes any accountability? It removes any need to change. It gives you an excuse to not have to change who you are at your core, because you have now made it a core belief that you are bad with money. Oh, that's me, and I'm not going to change that. That's how I am. And I can't change, actually. Even if I wanted to, I can't change because I'm just bad with money. That's not the case here, people. It's just that you don't know things. We can always learn things. Lifelong learners. We can always learn things. It's really important to always being open to learning and investigating and improving. And it is hard. It's actually really hard to change. I remember when I was first dabbling in the world of money and finance and investing, and I had always been like, I was your classic like strict hard budgeter, you know. I'd sit down and be like, right, it's January, setting my New Year's resolutions, or it's like the new month, I'm going to set a really hard budget. By the end of the year, I'm going to have saved $20,000. I don't even know, at this point, I don't even know how much I'm earning. I don't even know if $20,000 is possible to save, but that's my goal. And I set it up and I'm like, okay, in order to get $20,000, or, you know, I'm going to save $500 a week. I'm only earning $650 a week, for example. This was like back when I was younger, but I'm going to save $500 a week. And I know it's hard, but I'm going to do it because I'm just going to sacrifice. I'm just going to be frugal because that is what I should do, and because that is morally correct. There is this morality attached to being frugal and to saving and what's the word? Like putting yourself last, like sacrifice, I guess. And that's true. There should be there's virtue in that, you know? But if we take it too far, it's completely unrealistic, and we are denying ourselves so much that then we rebel against ourselves. So we set a strict budget. We're like, we're going to get on top of this finance thing, and I'm going to set the strict budget. I'm going to save all my money and I'm not going to spend a single cent. And too bad if you don't like it. Too bad, I'm going to do it. So then you start and you put all your money away, and it's kind of working. And you're like, yeah, all my money. I don't know why I'm turning into like a into Oscar the Grouch, but anyway, put all of your money away. 2 weeks goes by or whatever, and suddenly you have an expense. Suddenly it's your friend's birthday, or it's Christmas, or I don't know, and you haven't put money aside for spending. I don't know, your car breaks down. There's an expense, and you have to then dip into your savings because you haven't accounted, or you've put too much away. And then you feel bad. You feel those feelings of guilt and shame, and the cycle repeats. And you go, oh, I must be bad with money. No, you just aren't doing it right. You just haven't got it right yet. That's all it is. It's just something that you can tweak and that you can fix. And it just takes a little bit of trial and error and learning. When we make something like this part of our identity and our core belief system, and we don't want to change it, and it's too hard to change, and we just kind of we throw in the towel and we go, oh, well, I can't do it. It's too hard. And so sometimes when we create an identity about ourselves, like I'm bad with money, it is an excuse to then it's not an intentional excuse, but it's like it's a subconscious excuse to then not have to change and not have to improve, because improving is uncomfortable. Something I'm really conscious of is the language we employ when we're talking about ourselves or people close to us. That internal dialogue, you know, we grew up with the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And we kind of grew up with this mentality that like our language doesn't really matter and it should just roll off us. And I get that was trying to instill resilience, and like, you know, people can be hurtful with their words, but like you have to move through it, but I think somewhere along the line, we lost the fact that words are very powerful and they impact us on a deep psychological level, and they have a significant impact on how we view ourselves and how we conduct ourselves. It has a profound effect on our mindset, emotions, and therefore our actions. So it's really important to think about the words that we're using, and I really believe that the two most powerful words in the English language are I am. I remember I was like doing this leadership camp for high school students, and I set my group a task, and I think I might do the same for you guys. Something I would really challenge you to think about is the phrase I am. I want you to write it down somewhere, and I really challenge you to sit with this phrase over the course of the next week and come back to it and complete the phrase. So I am brave. I am enough. I am adventurous. I am funny. I am courageous. I am intelligent. I am not bad with money.